Warning: the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman featuring Bones. Catch us on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, Stream, and everywhere else you catch your podcasts. And of course, WLFE-DB.com. Now, from the backwoods of southeast Arkansas, right beside the Bayou Bartholomew, the longest bayou on the planet, broadcasting from downtown metropolitan Cane Creek Township, here is your host, Len Dorman.
Hello, everyone. I am here. I am in Cane Creek Township, downtown metropolitan. Population, about 22 people. That's about it. Of course, we have an international airport. It's only about 20 feet long, but we do have it. We have two major dog groomer. So, but here we are. It's Thursday. It is time to talk the paranormal. Tonight, I have some very interesting guests, Dane and Jennifer. We will be talking about what they've been doing, what they are doing, and what they will be doing in the paranormal. Tonight's show's not about me at all. It's all about them. So, on WLFE-DB, we will be bringing you our guest, D&M Paranormal. Come on in.
Hi, I'm Dane.
I'm Jen.
Oh, let's see. Hello. How are y'all doing tonight?
We're doing good. How about you?
I'm doing just great. A little bit earlier, about 15 minutes ago, I had some fireworks going off outside early, but I think the neighbors have settled down now. Of course, it was just kind of a thump I was hearing.
It's a little early for New Year's celebration, but better early than late.
Yes, it is, and true. And if they've stopped now, which it sounds like they have, that's about it. Of course, it's about the only sound I can hear from the neighbors, because they're about 100 yards. Let's see, put my hand in the screen, that away.
That's good.
They're about 100 yards that away.
That's not very far.
We live in a cabin in the woods on 4 acres.
Oh, nice.
That is nice.
I want to be in the woods.
Hey, I'm 65. Said it's time to retire. The wife is semi-retired, and we're lucky enough to live in the country.
That's good. I hope one day we can. We live We just live in a regular subdivision.
It's nice getting away from the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what we're going to do tonight, I want to hear a little bit about the history of D&M Paranormal. How it got its name, how you got started, how you met up. So, if you don't mind, please continue with your story.
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep it relatively short because it's kind of a long story, but basically I started watching paranormal shows when they became popular, the Ghost Hunters, original Ghost Hunters, and the Ghost Adventures, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. So when Nick Groff left Ghost Adventures, he started doing events around the country. Well, he came to the Jefferson, Missouri prison, which is about an hour and a half southwest of us. So me and a friend of mine, Matt, decided, let's go. So we went. Obviously there was a lot of people there. There was like 75 people there. We broke up into groups of about 25, and we're taking on a guided tour of the building, and then we were able to investigate. And toward the end of the night, something weird happened that Matt and I couldn't explain. And I thought, why don't we get some cameras and do this ourselves? So then the hunt became, where we go. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no equipment. I don't know anybody. It's kind of hard to uncover places to go investigate. So we finally found a place that was it's an old home, but it was a business. So somebody was running a business out of an old home, and Matt and I went there, and of course, nothing happened. So we scheduled a future visit about 3 weeks or a month later, and Matt called me last minute and said he wasn't feeling good and wasn't going to be able to go. So my daughter, who was, was 14, so she would have been about 7 at the time, was staying over at a friend's house. So my wife said, I'll go. I'm like, really? Okay. So we went, and we had all kinds of crazy stuff happen. We had a chair thrown, a shadow figure. I mean, the fire alarm went off on command. It was insane. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. So I called Matt the next day. I'm like, you are not going to believe what happened. So I told him everything. And then he's like, well, we got to go back. So Matt went back with me. And of course, nothing happened. Then I got an idea. I thought, maybe it's this one back here. Maybe there's something special about her. So I told her, you're going back over there with me. And we had some insane activity again with her there. And then I told her, you're going to Edinburgh Manor with us, which is an old poor farm up in Scotts Grove, Iowa, that we had booked. So upon finding this place, I found it watching Ghost Adventures. I believe it was season 12 or maybe 15. I can't remember. It was the first episode of that season. And I thought, that's only a 5-hour drive from us. So I found a phone number and I called the lady, and she said, yeah, you can book it. I just need to know how many people are in your group and what is your group name. And I thought, my God, if I don't have a group, she's not going to let us in. So I just said D&M Paranormal for Dane and Matt. That's where the name came from. But long story short, she just needed it for scheduling purposes, so she knew who was coming. She really wasn't going to throw us out if we didn't have a group, but I didn't know. So anyway, I drug her to Edinburgh Manor. We had all kinds of crazy activity, and then I was like, you're on the team. So that's how she got brought in. And after a series of crazy events with her, what we call being spirit jumped, where something gets inside and literally takes over. It sounds bizarre. It's really crazy. And if I hadn't witnessed it myself a dozen times, I wouldn't believe it. But it did happen. So we started asking questions with other people, networking with some other groups. We went to some public events that other groups were having and met some people, and come to find out that this one is a psychic medium. And so that's why spirits are attracted to her, because she can see them and hear them. And so she is now probably, in my opinion, the most important person on the team. We have a team of about 10 people right now. A good mix of guys and gals and different backgrounds, religious beliefs, non-religious, scientific, people that like to just wing it. And it works out really well. So that's kind of how we got started.
Okay.
And this all happened in 2015. So we've been a team almost 7 years now.
Wow,
Hopefully
that's impressive.
Hopefully that was.
How do you keep so many team members together? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and they struggle to keep a 4, 5, 6 man team together. How do you keep a team that large together?
Well, it's taken a long time. We probably have had at least that many members that have come in and gone or been removed for one reason or another. And some of these people I knew before we got into paranormal, and some of them I've met through other people. People have contacted us off our website. I think the biggest reason why they like to stay is because we include everybody. It's Jen and I run the team, but we don't run it as my team. It's our team. We have we try to get together once a month or every other month and do evidence review. And we teach new people how to listen to audio and how to cut video and do some different things like that. So everybody feels a part. When we book our year, we try to book everything. Like our whole 22 season is planned out, and everything but one site is already booked and deposits put down. But we all vote on it. We all talk about it. It's not like I just pick a handful of sites and that's where we're going. Everybody gets a say so, and then whatever gets voted on is where we go. So I think just making people feel included, feel accountable to the team. And like I said, we've gone through a lot of people to find the right mix, but right now it's working really well and we're happy.
We try to keep it fun too. I mean, that's why we've got the different places that we book. We've got stuff that we book because we can go back and have continued access to build a rapport with the building and potential spirits that are there. So that keeps drawing us back. And then we've got places that we book because we just kind of want to go see what the hype is and see if we can have any experiences. But then we also do things to try and help people, like with residentials and things like that. And so I think because we have a very eclectic way of what we're investigating and why we're investigating, it helps keep people's attention too, because it's not the same thing every single time. I broke the internet.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Can you hear? Can you hear us? Uh-oh.
Hey, go. Can you hard plug in?
No, I don't have a cord long enough. I don't think it's us. I think it's him because we're still on here.
Okay, we're back.
There you are. Can you hear me?
Apparently I had oh yeah, I hear you just fine. Apparently I had lost complete internet for about 5 seconds there.
Yeah, it's usually me that has the technical issues. It's kind of nice that somebody else has them too. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the first time during the show that I've had a total internet burp, and that was definitely an internet burp. Of course, it's not like we've got cable out here in the country.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's not satellite. Every time I have a cloud, I'd be off the internet. But,
yeah, that's the problem
anyway.
with satellite.
Okay. Where were some of the other places you've investigated?
Well, we've been to the Missouri State Penitentiary, so we've gone back twice since the Nick Groff event. That's kind of a favorite place. We've been to the Edinburgh Manor, which I've talked about. We've done Madison Seminary, Ohio State Reformatory, Bobby Mackey's. Those are really famous and well-known places. We've been to Vale Mansion in Independence, Missouri, which is a really, really nice old Victorian 3-story mansion. It's beautiful. If you get a chance to go, you should. And then we went to a place called the McIntyre Villa, which is in Atchison, Kansas, which is the same town as the Sally House, which you've probably heard of that. That's a famous one. The McIntyre is an old Victorian home as well. It's a beautiful place. And as a matter of fact, we're going back there in March for 2 nights. Some of the other places, obviously, the picture we sent you was from Villisca Axe Murder House. There's a place in just outside of Chattanooga called the Hales Bar Dam, which is an old dam.
Oh, you went to Hales Bar Dam?
Yes, sir. And that
do tell.
that might have been the most active investigation that we've ever been on. From the minute we walked in there and set a REM pod down, it was just nonstop. Mostly footsteps either walking towards you or walking away from you. I mean, you could hear them loud. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, did I hear that? It might have been a sound. No, they were like boom, boom, boom on the concrete right in front of you. It was crazy. One guy saw a black shadow. We went upstairs. We were one level below the roof, and my K2 meter just started going insane, which it shouldn't have because there's no electricity in that building.
Right.
The only electric we had was a power cord that was run from the building next door through a series of extension cords so we could run a DVR. Now, we didn't capture anything on the DVR, which was a little disappointing, but, it was definitely worth a try. But it was just crazy. So we go up to the top of this area, and my K2 meter started going off, and I was, pardon my French, but I was happier big shit. And then else they had a bad feeling that we should leave. And I'm like, well, why would we leave? This is what we came for. We're getting activity. I'm asking questions. My meter's lighting up. One lady got her hair pulled. One guy got pushed. And then the tried to push me to go away. I finally snapped. This look in my eyes was different. That it was almost like it wasn't even me. It was really strange. They finally convinced me to go down. I went unwillingly with the promise that we could come back later after we took a break. So as we were walking out of the dam, I heard a woman scream, blood-curdling scream at the top of her lungs from way back in the dam. I was like, wow, what is that? And this guy was like, nope, they're just trying to pull us back in. Come on, we're going to go take a break. If there's one thing I've learned since I've been doing paranormal, it's time to go. And it was time to go.
Okay.
So how does one person feel like they're at a carnival and everybody else is mortified and couldn't get out of there fast enough? How does that happen? It's just really weird to me. Yeah. And we did return to that area. I returned there with my wife, and she said, we're being surrounded. We got to go. We just need to get out of here. This is not good. Something terrible is going to happen, and let's get out. So that's what we did. I would love to return there. That was a crazy place. The two people that one got pushed and one their hair pulled said they would never go back. And, really? And me, I had the feeling like I would investigate this place every day if I could, So
that's kind of the way I feel about places.
Different people and different experiences.
Okay, you went to
place over
Bobby
here.
Mackey's. You went to Bobby Mackey. I have heard different stories from different groups. Some of them have said that the activity was absolutely insane. Others have said they got a little bit, not a whole lot. And I've talked to some groups that went there after another group who got a lot of activity and got nothing. They spent 4, 5, 6 hours in the place and got squat. How did you fare?
The only thing that happened was we were sitting in the main bar, and we were all spread out. Some were up by the stage. There was 6 of us total there. So we were all spread out around that floor. And everybody heard it. And this was very loud on carpet. One of the investigators was sitting there just to the right of the bar. And we heard stomping, the stomp, 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 all the way right up to her and then stopped.
Wow.
But that was it. So, we've been to many places multiple times, and every time you go, you have a different experience. We've been to places, where absolutely nothing's happened, and we've been places where the activity was off the chart. And I think it's really luck of the draw. You know, who knows
You're right.
what it really takes for a spirit to interact, or if they want to. If you go somewhere and there's somebody that they don't like, you know, they're
Right.
probably not going to interact with you. Or if you're putting off a bad vibe. You know, one of the places we go to locally here is over in Alden, Illinois, which is just on the other side of the Mississippi River from us, is a place
Oh,
called the Mineral Springs Hotel. So the Mineral
Oh,
Springs
wait a minute.
Hotel,
You're that close to there?
yes, it's 45 minutes away from my house.
Lucky you. I've always wanted to get there, and I've just never been in that neck of the woods. So you've been there several times?
Yeah, I've been there well over a dozen times myself. My wife's probably been there about a dozen times. So, yeah, that's an interesting place. And we've been there many times where nothing has happened. And we've been there sometimes where the activity was just off the chart. And like I said, you know, nobody really knows what it takes for these spirits to be able to communicate or interact with you and your equipment. But sometimes I think they just get tired.
I fully agree. They seem to run out of energy. That's why I made the comment I made about when I phrased a question about Bobby Mackey's, because almost invariably the teams I've talked to that went in, it was one of those busy days where they're running tour after tour after tour after tour through Bobby Mackey's, and they've gone in there, and the group in front of them got crazy evidence, crazy activity, and they got nothing.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly what you just said. I believe that if a group comes through and they're hyperactive, they get tired, and they may fade away for a few hours. And one other thing I've said repeatedly on this show, that if I went to a place and I got evidence every time I turned on a meter, opened up a microphone, turned on a recorder, turned on a camera, if I got evidence each and every time, I would doubt myself. I would seriously doubt what I was getting myself, because that just can't happen. You've got to have something where you got nothing, or maybe you're just recording the wrong thing. If you're getting evidence every time, I've got to wonder about you.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you're getting evidence every time, you need to be debunking.
Exactly, because you may not be doing any debunking, and you're thinking you're getting evidence when it's a raccoon under the floor or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm fully in agreement with y'all. Now, another place I'm reared into. Oh, let's go on with Alton to start with. A lot of people have a lot of interest in Alton. I've never been there myself. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the evidence you did get when you went there?
Well, if you go to our YouTube channel, it is loaded with videos of stuff. Mostly, well, the first time that she went, she got spirit jumped down in the basement.
In the sub-basement.
In the sub-basement. So the original, before it was a hotel, it was a slaughterhouse for a meat packing plant. And they were looking for a water source to make ice so that they could preserve their meat, for long periods of time. They found the mineral well. Somebody claimed that it cured everything from cancer to syphilis to depression to, just about any ailment. Wind got out. People came from everywhere, started buying this water, and they decided to build a hotel. And the hotel, it had actually had 2 indoor pools in it. It was very luxurious. All kinds of people came and stayed there, including the mob. There was mob activity there at one point. There's been a couple of documented deaths inside the building. One of them is definitely a suicide. Another one was ruled a suicide, but, some people have doubts about that, and it's really hard to tell because obviously the person that did it isn't here to tell us. But, yeah, we go there You know, the Mineral Springs Hotel is our favorite place locally. We go there a lot. There's one room in particular upstairs that we have activity in almost every time we go. And I have pretty much concluded that it's just playful children. And I believe it's the fact that we've come there so many times that they know us and they know that we respect them and that we're not there to harm them. They trust us and they come out when we're there.
Well, and the amount of things that we've done too to try and debunk the different pieces of equipment that go off and how it works too just leads to the credibility of the responses that we do get.
Yeah, so we'll have a motion detector, a REM pod, and a proximity sensor all going off at the same time, 10 feet apart. That's pretty compelling there, especially when there's no electricity up in that particular area. It's somebody, when the hotel was on hard times, the owner at the time tried to set the place on fire for insurance money, and it didn't work. But there's still burned charred wood up there on that floor. You can see they've torn everything out down to the floors and the studs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting place. But the first time Jen went there, we were down in the basement and the sub basement where the original slaughterhouse was, and
Right.
we started getting REM pod activity, K2 activity. So we started asking questions. And I know there's a lot of Civil War history in Alton. The original state penitentiary was shut down due to poor conditions right about the time the Civil War started. So they ended up turning it into a prison camp for the Confederate soldiers that were captured in the area. So, and then they had a bad smallpox outbreak. They had, thousands of people die. They were buried or sometimes just left stranded on an island out in the Mississippi River. They called it Smallpox Island. So anyway, we got, that it was a Civil War soldier, it was a Confederate soldier, and we were trying to figure out his name. And for whatever reason, Jen blurted out his name, which was Alfred, which is not a common name, not something that would come to mind. And as soon as that happened, she went down and hit the floor and just started wailing and screaming. And I asked what was wrong and started screaming about it, looking for my family. I mean, it was really bizarre. This was one of the first times that happened, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew it wasn't her. Fortunately for us, my niece was there with a camera and videotaped the entire thing. So fast forward a few years, Ghost Adventures decides to do a 2-part episode called The Curse of the Riverbend. They did one at the McPike Mansion and one at the Mineral Springs Hotel. And when asked the lady who owns the shops there, give me a list of 10 people I should call for interviews, they called this one out of the clear blue sky. And we sent our video in, and Jen ended up getting interviewed. And her interview was part of it was aired on the show, and part of our video was aired on there as well in the very beginning. So that was kind of a cool experience.
That's a feather in your cap. Not many people can say their video or their little bit of interview got put on one of the main TV shows.
Yeah, that's
very
right.
Few people can say that.
Yeah,
they usually recreate everything, and they just, I signed it over, and I'm like, here you go, you can use it.
So that was a neat experience. The whole town of Alton is really haunted. It is one of the most haunted small towns in America, I believe. There's an old church where a priest hung himself. That's just a couple of blocks away from Mineral Springs Hotel that's haunted. We investigated a home, a residential over there, and we caught a smoke ring about that big come out of the wall and literally fly across the room. We caught that on our DVR. We had a couple of we believe it was the lady's grandfather, is what we concluded who that was. But that was an interesting experience there. Um, just being on the river, there's a lot of limestone in the area. Then you had the history of the prison and the Civil War. There's a lot of places in and around the area that were part of the Underground Railroad. So there's a lot of underground tunnels in Alton, and some of them haven't even been discovered.
Well, that would explain a lot of the activity there, because there's been a lot of activity. I'm not talking about paranormal activity. There's been a lot of living activity there over the years. I did not know all that went on there.
Yeah.
It's a great little town if you ever get to visit it. It is full of old architecture, original buildings, a lot of mom and pop businesses and restaurants. It's a great little place to visit. And just north of there, there's a town called Grafton, which is a big area where people like to boat. There's all kinds of restaurants that are right up on the river and bed and breakfast. And it's a neat little area for sure. And in the wintertime, bald eagles like to congregate up there on the Mississippi River.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if I ever get an opportunity to get up there, I'll give you a ring. Now,
yeah, definitely.
Talking about that, you said you had a YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
Can you go ahead and give the name and how people can find you on YouTube?
The easiest way to find it is if you go to our website, which is D&M Paranormal.com. So if you go to our website, it's got a link to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. So they can go right there. I think I've got somewhere around 40 videos out there. A lot of them are from Mineral Springs. Some of them I've got from Waverly Hills, a lot of Edinburgh Manor. So there's some different stuff on there.
Okay. So you've been to Waverly Hills also?
Yes, I've personally been 3 times.
I've been once.
Jen's been once.
Okay, what kind of evidence did you find there?
Well, the first time, nothing happened except at the very end of the night, we saw a full-bodied apparition, and unfortunately, Jen was coming up the rear with the camera and missed it by seconds.
Wow. Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man, and he looked kind of like a lumberjack. He had a beard. He had a checkered plaid shirt on and overalls.
What
and he
floor?
was standing. It was on the 2nd floor. So you know how it comes out? Let me see. This way, and then it bends out. It was on this far bend. It was the big room that had 2 windows in it, and he was on the right side in the corner. And once he realized we saw him, he walked to the left all the way across the room, right through the wall, and disappeared.
So he did react to you. This was not a residual.
No, this was not residual.
Yeah, no, he reacted.
He reacted.
Okay.
And I wasn't the only one that saw it. There was actually 2 other people that saw it. It just happened so fast. It was really bizarre.
Well, a lot of evidence gets done quick. Sometimes it's just luck.
It is luck. I mean, like I said, if she hadn't been in the back, if she would have been in the front, we would have caught it on camera.
Okay. Let's talk about the axe murder house. You sent me a picture of the 2 of y'all posing in front of it. So I'm assuming this is a place that's near and dear to you. Go ahead and talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I'm going to talk about the experience I had downstairs, and I'm going to let her talk about the experience that we all had upstairs. So we were there with eight people. So we were taking turns. There's a little, what used to look like be a barn that's turned into like a gift shop, which was a little break area. So what we were doing is we were taking turns going in 4 at a time because it's a very small house.
Right.
All night, it was quiet, dead quiet. No, well, pun intended. It was dead quiet. Not a sound, not a meter, not a blip. Nobody got any weird feelings. and there was 3 particular people that were getting ready to leave, and they wanted to go back in one more time. So I went in with them. So we're sitting in the living room, and there was a couch here, somebody was in a chair over here, and someone was in a chair here, and we all had a different piece of equipment. I had a K2 meter, the other guy had a K2 meter, the other lady had a digital recorder, and the lady sitting to my left on the other wall had a Mel meter. And all of a sudden, everything just started reacting. It was the strangest thing, and it would go from one side of the room over to here, and then the Mel meter at one point spiked up to, I believe, a little bit over 80. Every time I got my camera out, it would stop. I got a video camera out, I'm trying to document everything, and the activity would stop. And then I would say, do you want me to turn my camera off? And the K2 would go off. So I turned the camera off. A few minutes later, I tried to get it back out. Everything stopped. So I made a deal with them. You stay here and interact with us, and I'll just leave the camera off. So I have no documentation of anything that happened. But I got a Dr. Seuss book out. We always carry a children's book with us because we never know when we're going to come across kids. And I started reading it. Excuse me. The gentleman that was sitting across from me said it felt like somebody climbed up in his lap and was sitting on his lap like a little kid. He said his chest, his arms, and his legs were frozen and all staticky. And it was really bizarre. And this went on for probably about 15 or 20 minutes, and then it just suddenly stopped. But it was just a big swirl of energy. I mean, the Mel meter would go off, then my meter would go off, and then his meter would go off. And sometimes they would all go off at the same time. And what we believed was going on was that it was the kids that were in the house that were playing and having a good time. I did get something on the spirit box, which I later was able to analyze, and it said everybody's running. So I think the guy that did all this was coming, and everybody took off. So then those 3 left because they had about a 10-hour drive to get home, and they wanted to hit the road. It was about 3 a.m. at that point. So the other 5 of us stayed. We ended up going into the house. Nothing happened on the first level, but we ended up going upstairs, and I will let this one tell you what happened up there.
Well, before we all went upstairs, you went up there with just the spirit box, and you were walking around asking questions, and we could actually hear you through the stairwell and through the floor. And we have we have this thing where we don't want to antagonize, we don't want to be too firm, we don't want to be intimidating and things like that, because we need to be respectful. Well, we noticed that Dane's tone was starting to change a little bit, and me and 2 of the other ladies were like, and he kind of needs to dial it back just a little bit. And he asked a question, and I don't remember what the response was that came through the spirit box, but the voice was definitely male, and it was definitely angry. And so we called him downstairs, and that's when we're like, okay, we need to regroup and figure out how we want to do this. And we're like, you can't be up there by yourself. So we decided we were all going to go up there. Because he was the only male in the house at that point, and it was me and another team member who was an empath and fairly new to what she was learning how to do, and then we had 2 other psychic mediums that were there as well. So we all went upstairs and we took different spots in the room, and Dane was pretty much walking around between the 2 bedrooms and the little attic nook. One of the other ladies was in the parents' room, and me and another lady was in the kids' room. And then was somebody on the stairs, or they were sitting in the attic? No, there was somebody on the stairs. Someone on the stairs. So we were kind of spread out. So there was we were pretty much in 4 corners of the 2 main rooms, and then Dane was walking between everything. And I was sitting on one of the beds, and one of the ladies suggested that we open one of the closet doors in the kids' room. And so Dame walked in and he opened the closet door, and this other investigator who was sitting on the bed right next to it was like, "You don't know what you just did." But it wasn't her really that was saying it. Like, it was completely not her energy. It was so weird. And then all of a sudden I start crying and like a little kid, and like I was scared, and everybody's like, "What is going on?" And then the one lady got super agitated and damn near attacked Dane.
Yeah, I thought she was going to hit me.
I mean, she just was like, got super angry and was just like, so we're like, okay, we need to go. And so we all left and we went outside. And at that point, the investigator who got really, really angry, her demeanor was completely not herself. Her eyes changed, her personal energy changed, she just was not herself whatsoever. So me and the other two started doing energy work, trying to get off of her whatever energy had attached to her when we were upstairs in that room. Yeah, that was weird. What else about that? Because once I focused on that, I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, once that happened, it was pretty much over. But
we did like 45 minutes or something. It seemed like we were working on her forever.
You were, and I was just kind of watching.
So then we decided that it probably wasn't a good idea for us to stay and investigate any longer, because things were kind of, taking that turn. So we sent this one back inside, and he's trying to tear down all the equipment pretty much by himself in the dark, because there's only electricity in one room. So he's doing everything by flashlight, and then he starts carrying stuff out to the car. The car keys are over in the barn, but the car's unlocked, and he's walking over with the tote, and the car locks. Like, he's maybe 3 or 4 feet from it, and you hear it lock, and the alarm goes off and the lights blink, and we're like, what? And we turned and looked, and the keys were still in the barn. So
at that point, I looked up at the windows and I was like, "You bastard!" I was like, "You're not going to intimidate me," which probably wasn't smart. But as I went back in for the last time to get the flashlight had a magnet on it, so it was stuck onto the iron stove that was in the kitchen. That was my only source of light. As I started to approach the house, it started flashing, and it wasn't like a normal pattern. It was just bizarre, flashing off and on at random. And I just went in there and I was like, I'm done with you. You're not going to intimidate me. But
and what was weird is that night, myself and the other investigator who was overcome by stuff, we both ended up having the exact same dream. And so when we got together for breakfast the next morning, we were talking about it, and like we were literally like finishing each other's sentences of what happened. And the scary thing is it involved Dane going back in and going into the attic. And in the attic, you had the roofing nails that were like this long and so it was him talking to whatever energy was in that room, and it picking him up and slamming him and impaling him. And we both saw that in our dream happen. And so it was like, oh my gosh, it's really a good thing that we didn't go back in there. It's a good thing that we called him out of the attic area, because, was that something that could have happened if he had gone? It was just really weird that we had that same dream, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
About a year to the day of us investigating there, I ended up being visited by the preacher, who is one of the people that was thought to possibly have been one of the persons who was involved in the murder of the family. He just showed up, and he would not leave me alone. He just kept getting in my face, getting in my business. And I'm like, dude, you need to back off. And I didn't know who he was at first. And so I sketched it out on a Post-it note, and I texted it to one of the ladies. And I was like, do you know who this guy is? I go, because he won't leave me alone. And the next thing she writes back is, Velisca, let me get my notes. And I was like, oh shit, as soon as she said that. And we both came back on Messenger at the same time with a picture of the pastor and the picture that I drew side by side. And it was him to a T, like with the shirt.
Wow.
And it was crazy.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I texted that to the team member who had been overtaken, and she had seen him the night before outside her window, her bedroom window. And I was like, well, that's creepy. She goes, yeah, especially since I live on the second floor.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I had to do a lot of energy work to break the connection from that house for me. Because when we came back home, I went to see some people, and they started side-eyeing me when I walked in. And they're like, looking at me, and I'm like, what's wrong? They're like, you need to go sit over there. You got some funky energy on you. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know where it's from. Like, I didn't watch any evidence. I didn't listen to any audio. I didn't go back through any photos. Like, I wanted nothing to do with the location. And probably for a good year, I didn't even really want to talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one really, this is probably the most I've talked about it since we've been there.
That's true.
Was this your last visit there, or y'all been back there since?
We have not gone back there. We have team members that want to go. I want to go back, but she doesn't. And I can understand why.
We have one team member that did go back with another team, but the experience she had at her second visit was completely different than the first visit.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. You can go to the same place 10 times and you'll have 10 different experiences.
Yes.
So if I had to rate that experience I had downstairs with the kids, I would say that's definitely, top 3 moments for me, as an experience with paranormal, because it was just completely random, completely out of the blue, and there was no explanation for it. I just thought it was weird that every time I got my camera out, they would stop.
Well, let me ask her this little question. You're talking about you've had some kind of funky energy on you.
Yeah.
And you were maybe saying something that was not you. Can you go a little bit of further explanation there of what you think was going on?
So how do I explain that?
I don't know, because it doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I believe like when we go places that energy, and no matter where you're at, whether it's your home, out in public, an investigation, whatever, energy is everywhere. And we know that.
Yeah.
And you can pick that up and it can follow you. It's just, if it likes you, it's going to come with you. And so for whatever reason, there was energy from that house, from that investigation, even though we cleansed and we saged and we closed out, there was still an attachment of some sort from that investigation to me. And it really had an impact on me. And I don't know if it's because of the energy work that we were trying to do on the one investigator, because I was down on the ground. She was on her hands and knees, and I was down on the ground next to her, and I had my hands on her, and the other ladies were doing some other stuff. But there was a connection between me and that home still. And when I I'd actually gone to a class. I think it was a Wednesday night right after the investigation. And it was a class to learn about how to cleanse your energy and your aura, right, and cut cords. And so it was the teacher as well as 2 people that run the shop that were side-eyeing me like, no, you need to go sit over there, because, they could feel that something wasn't right with me. And one of the ladies had actually asked me after we talked for a little bit if she could give me a hug. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And she gave me a hug. And everywhere where she made contact with me was burning on fire. Like, it was, you might as well just wrapped a rope around me and lit it on fire. And I think it was her positive energy trying to cancel out the negative energy that was on me. Through that class, we were doing different exercises, but as people were coming in, I was sitting on the couch in this room, and literally people would come over by me, and then they would turn around and walk and go sit somewhere. Like nobody wanted to come anywhere near me, and they didn't even know where I had been. It was just like they walk in and they're like, nope, they went the other way. So it actually ended up being really good that I was at this class, because by the end of the night, a lot of the example lessons that they were doing, they ended up doing them on me. And so I actually felt better by the end of the night. But I've had that happen at other places where I walk in and I'm like, I don't get a good feeling. I'll just feel like something there is not necessarily nice, or it's agitated, or I can pick up, sometimes like sad feelings, happy feelings, whatever. But if in the beginning, when I didn't know how to set boundaries and how to control those things, I would take on those feelings myself of what was in the room around me. And I think that was the problem, is because I was like, oh, here, let me help you. And then I wasn't giving it back, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
Okay.
So I've always thought that almost anybody can be a little bit intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
And if they open their minds, almost anybody can sense some of the things, not everything. Some people have gifts, and you apparently are one of those people that have a gift. I'm not saying anybody can do what you do.
Right.
They can. I'm saying that most people can do some of the things you do, at least some of the things you feel.
Right. No, I agree 100%.
But it takes a special person to go that step further.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of opening your mind.
And that's one of the things I try and work with Dane and with the other teammates, because I'm like, hey, I don't want to be the only special one on the team here. So I try and work with them so that they can kind of tap into what's around them, whether it's we go into a room and I ask them to close their eyes and tell me what they see, what they see in their mind, or how they feel, or whatever. And just kind of, if you take away some of your physical senses, just take away the vision, and you have to rely on your feel and your hear, then you're tapping in a little bit more. And so I think that helps them to be able to connect with what's going on in the room. But I do try and work with the team to let them see a little bit of what I'm experiencing. And that took a long time for me to start doing that, because it's so easy to doubt yourself. Right. Is it in my mind? Am I making this up? Is this, am I building a story, or is this really what's going on? And so when they're able to get something on equipment and I'm able to get something, or I get it and then they validate it with the equipment, which is the preferred way for me to do it, because I'd rather have something, experience it, see it, hear it, write it down, and then them go in and do whatever and get the equipment to validate it, because you can't make the equipment do it. Right. Where if I was in there and the equipment did it and then I said something, they could be like, well, you're just saying that because the equipment responded. So I really try and find ways that I can do things that can be validated if possible, either with the equipment or with things that other people know that I didn't know going into it.
Now, personal opinion on all this too, you've got to be able to maintain control, because if you lose control, you don't know what you're going to lose or what's going to happen.
That's true. And that was one of the big things when I first started, with the what we call being spirit jumped, is I didn't know how to control being a medium, and I didn't know how to control being an empath. And so, when I was being spirit jumped, it was a form of, full trans or partial trans mediumship. I did lose control because I lost time when those events happened. And so when that happened, the only reason I know what happened was either listening to the audio or watching the video. And to go back and have to see, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and not know what happened is scary.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of networking, a lot of training with other people to learn how to set those boundaries and maintain that control. And I've been fairly good about being able to make sure that I keep things back a little bit. Dane has learned a lot. Some of the other teammates have learned signs of when things are about to go down and how to break me out of it. Because sometimes if it comes on quick enough, I can't stop it. I need them to. So I'm not allowed to go anywhere by myself.
Yeah.
No, that would not be advisable.
No.
She has to have a babysitter at all times.
Yeah. I require adult supervision.
I have found that I can maintain a little bit more control because I've had in a couple of attachments. So what my wife and I did, we started using sea salt with our food. Instead of using sea salt to surround a haunted object or put it in a doorway, trying to create a barrier, it's not like we just eat salt.
Right.
But almost everybody puts a little bit of salt on their food. Now, my wife actually puts very little compared to me. But I instead of using normal iodized salt that you buy in the grocery store for, a dime a package, whatever it costs now, a quarter a package. We do have inflation now. We get the more expensive sea salt.
Yeah.
And use that. And since I started that, I've had less and less problems with being messed with. Sometimes it still happens, but it slows it down a little bit.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good idea. What are you doing?
I'm going to write our website down. So.
Oh. Yeah, no, that's definitely a good idea because then you're able to set those intentions and carry it with you a heck of a lot longer too.
Yes. Because next thing you know, you have sea salt actually in your blood.
That's not.
Right.
Now, we're about to go on commercial break. So why don't we just kind of hold off with another question? I know it's submitted too early, but instead of trying to start a new subject and cut it off after 1 minute, let's just go ahead and go on commercial break. Okay. And we'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. Just go ahead and take 5 if you want to.
Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Rochester Winter Parafest is back, March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. Come say hi to Naked and Afraid celebrities Melanie Elizabeth and Trent Nielsen, Haunted Case Files Jack Kenna, Monster Quest Steve Coles, and more. This event has it all: paranormal investigators, UFO researchers, Bigfoot researchers, and even photo opportunities for the kids with Buddy the Bigfoot. Oh, okay, adults too. Come on down and get a tattoo from Ink Master Tony DeVille. There are psychic gallery and individual readings, as well as radio personalities, authors, jewelry, makeup artists, and so much more. It's only $15 per person, and children under 10 are free. March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. For more information, go to WLFE-DB.com. Yes, Winter Parafest is back. Valley Oak Event Center, Geneseo, New York, next to Denny's.
Try again, buddy. Try again. Yay! Okay. Oh yeah! Good job. Oh.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.
All right. We are back. We're got a little merch. That's the network's Paracon up in the Northeast. It's going to be during the wintertime in a couple months. Then we're trying to get some people there. They got a whole lot of guests. You saw that little poster I threw up there.
Oh wow.
This is just that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
And it's going to be a rather big time event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun myself, although I will not be able to go because I don't know if y'all are familiar with where I am. You heard me say Cane Creek Township, make fun of our little community here. But we're in southeast Arkansas. If you look on the map of Arkansas and you find Pine Bluff, you run your finger down the map till you see Monticello. And then you run your finger back north and stop about halfway between Pine Bluff and Monticello. You'll see a little town called Star City, which is the county seat for Lincoln County here. We are a suburb of Star City. Star City's got less than 2,300 people in it.
Oh, wow.
And we're a suburb, in quotation marks on purpose, of Star City. There's a big state park here. Cane Creek State Park is rather large. There's fishing lake, lots of recreation, lots of camping. And I'm down the road about a mile from the main entrance and across the street.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, if I want to take a little time and go down there and stare at a lake, or if I want to get a cane pole, get a couple of worms, a couple of crickets, and go down there and fish, happens every day down there.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, there's people coming around from all over the state on vacation just to camp out there, and basically it's my backyard. So
that would be nice.
That's how blessed my wife and I are by living here, and it's a blessed thing. And I hope when you get close to retirement, the two of you get exactly what you want as far as where you live and what you're able to do. Because I am blessed to do exactly what I want to do, and you're looking at it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So let's go on there, and let's. You have any other places you visited, and where you had some extraordinary evidence? And please tell us once again where people can find your group, your YouTube channel. I'm assuming you have a Facebook page, where all that information is, so people can follow you, give you likes, give you thumbs up on your videos.
Well, I posted in the private chat our website. I don't know if you can post something, but that's where you'll find all our social media links.
Yeah, so our website is D&M Paranormal.com. The and is spelled out. And once you're on the website, you can find the links to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Do you have our Instagram on there?
No.
Okay, so we need to add the Instagram.
Okay,
So-
I tell you what, put it in the. I cannot post it from there. That's a private chat. Post it in the YouTube chat. If you're picking us up on YouTube, post it there, and I can put it up on the screen.
Do you know how to get there?
Possibly. All right, you talk while I do this.
What?
Or go to where it's showing on Facebook, because the other posters, like right here, was a Facebook post. They're posted on Facebook, and I can throw it up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's incorrect wording. I can put it on the screen.
All right, I'm not sure what I need to do.
Sit back so I can see.
Go to Facebook where the show is showing on Facebook, and just post in the comments. People see it, the comments on here, and it'll flash up on my screen. I can put it on this screen.
All right, what's the web address or what's the Facebook page?
It's either it's actually on 2 pages in Facebook. My personal page that we were in contact with before, and if you go to live, Facebook Live, there our show is.
Yeah, you need to switch to me.
Switch. Oops, wrong one. Hang on, I'm switching accounts. Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay. While y'all are doing that, have either one of you ever heard of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery?
Of what? Bachelor's Grove?
Bachelor's Grove Cemetery.
Yes, I have heard of that. Isn't that up by Chicago?
Yes, on just south of Chicago.
Yeah. I have not personally been there, but I've definitely heard about it.
I lived in Chicago for 14 and a half years.
Oh, wow.
So I've
yeah, he's right there.
Been to Bachelor's Grove several times, and due to my research into the mob in Chicago, Al Capone is still rather upset with me. A psychic I know.
That's not somebody you want upset with.
Also, no, she made him rather angry, and she's had a few issues with Al Capone, as in, appearing at 3 o'clock in the morning in her bedroom and things like this. Yes, yep. Al Capone's nobody to play with.
Right.
So that's just some of the stuff. And then Bachelor's Grove, I once spent overnight. I went there in the afternoon and didn't leave till the morning. I once spent 15 hours straight.
Wow.
In Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, most of it alone.
That gives me chills.
I don't think anybody else can say that. It's not that nice a place. People have said, I stayed all night. I said, what time did you get here? Oh, I got here about 1 o'clock in the morning, stayed till 4. I said, dude, that's not all night.
That's not all night.
That's not even half the night. It's like
no, if you're gonna say you stayed all night, that means you were there when the sun was going down, and you were still there when the sun was coming up.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
And that was not a nice place. Although, one of the questions I want to ask you, I kind of cleared out the place a little bit, not by just running off the spirits. There were some kind of friendly spirits there, and I just pointed out the fact that there's more things to do than hanging around an abandoned cemetery.
Yeah.
With their afterlife, and maybe they should. The mother there knew, how to move around, and I suggested, look, I know studying your history, you had never traveled a whole lot. Why don't you go see London, Paris, go to Moscow, go to these beautiful cities around the world. Don't just sit there and hang around with your kids in an abandoned cemetery, or even where she was buried in a very established, still much used cemetery. I mean, why hang around, stuck around a cemetery if you've got a whole world you can go look at?
Right.
And
That's true.
people have had very, very little contact with her or her children since I told them that. And the once or twice I went out there after that, I got next to nothing. Where a lot of times I would just walk in the gate and get evidence. All of a sudden, the evidence started not happening, and people I've talked to since I left there 6 years ago. 6 years ago, December 1st, they said the place is really, really slow, and it's not the paranormal hotspot that it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. So, hey, have y'all had any experience like that where you may have got struck up a conversation and maybe told to go? Why don't you just go somewhere else besides here? Why are you here? You have any experience doing anything like that?
Yeah, we had. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's personal. Because it was somebody that I knew that died under,
Less than ideal.
conditions.
I understand.
So we were doing a live Q&A off of our Facebook page, and Jen kind of tapped out and started writing down a bunch of notes. And anyway, we finally figured out who it was, and we were able to send him on his way. He basically said he didn't want to go to the light because he thought it was a trap. He thought if he went there that it was a trap, and we convinced him that it wasn't, and we had equipment verification. We heard footsteps going up the stairs behind us. If you that door right there, our basement stairs go up that way. We could hear, people are going to say it's bullshit, but I don't care. She called upon archangels, and they came and got him, and we heard them stomping up the stairs after they took him out.
Wow!
It was actually on the 10-year anniversary of his death, which was really bizarre. It was a freak accident. It wasn't planned. We didn't intend to do that. That's just kind of where things went. And we have, I believe, we have crossed other spirits over that just needed to go. They just needed convinced.
Needed to know it was okay.
They needed to know it was okay. They needed to be remembered. They needed somebody to care about them enough to try and help.
Oh, okay. Y'all approach this from a Christian perspective, or are you Christian? All I don't know. It's kind of a personal question, but it does affect the way you investigate.
We are Christian and we are members of a church, but I don't personally believe the afterlife is as black and white as they teach you. I think that it's so much more complicated and so much more bizarre that the human mind can't really comprehend it. And I think it was laid out in its simplest terms, but I think there's a whole lot more to it than that.
I fully agree, because God gave us the second greatest gift in my book that he ever gave us was free will. And when you establish human free will into the whole question, you don't know where that will lead. And I don't think our simple minds can comprehend where that goes.
No.
Yeah, that's not possible, I don't think.
Right. I actually had a preacher tell me about 3 years ago that he said no religion, no certain pastor has all the correct answers, because it says there in the Bible that no one will fully understand the way of the Lord.
That's true.
And that the little bit of description in the Bible is all you got. And it's very vague, and it's being written by people who had not passed on. It was just what they felt was sort of right. Mm-hmm. But he said no pastor no, we're talking about Baptist, Catholic, whatever, has it fully 100% right. And I think that pastor was right on with what he said. Nobody's got it right. You and I don't have it right. I don't think you, anybody else could comprehend what's
I
on
mean,
the other side.
it's kind of like a puzzle. You know, we all have little pieces, and our little pieces build the picture. And so we have to see all these things. And even with that, there's still going to be those pieces that are missing, you know? So we just have to be
Yes.
open-minded and just realize that it's so much bigger and so much more complicated than what can be put between a front and back cover.
Well, we've talked to our pastor about what we do.
I think you're.
And he actually not only believes it, but suggested that we go to a town called Windyville, Missouri. He said he grew up there, and it's one of the most haunted towns in America. So we found a little, used to be the old country store that somebody bought years ago and turned into a bed and breakfast. So we're going there in July to check out Windyville, Missouri, and see if our pastor was right.
So we have moved on to future planned investigations without me asking a question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This is where I wanted to go. So we're all walking down a little trail here together. You got anything planned between now and then? Because you're talking July, that's about 7 months.
Yeah, we've got Sunday. We're going to brave the cold and go to Mineral Springs
Again.
So that's coming up on the 2nd. It'll be cold, but I'll dress appropriately.
So we have 3 investigations in January.
Then we're doing an undisclosed place.
Really?
That's yeah, I don't even, so then next week we're doing it's an undisclosed place. I can't really say where it is for the
I kind of make it a policy not to name names.
Yeah. And then the next, is it the next weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, the following weekend. So we got 3 in a row. So the following weekend we're doing, it's a residential, but it's not someone looking for help. It's somebody that's curious about the spirits in their house. It's in Old Town St. Charles, Missouri. And according to them, it used to be a jail back in the early 1800s. So it is like right next to the Missouri River, which is just across from St. Louis County, which is next to St. Louis City. So it's pretty close to the Mississippi River. St. Charles is loaded with old haunted places. It's a great place to visit as well. It'll definitely take you back in time. February, we're doing an event at Mineral Springs. So if anybody's close and wants information on how to get tickets, we're going to do a guided investigation for people at Mineral Springs Hotel. We're going to have raffle items. We're going to do a 50-50 drawing, and prizes include a chance to actually investigate with just our team at the Mineral Springs Hotel. So it wouldn't even be in a big group setting. So we've
what date is
sold
this now?
It's on February the 19th.
But you're sold out. No more tickets available.
No, we've sold half the tickets, so we still have tickets available.
Okay.
And if they go to our Facebook page and look under events, they'll find the event there and a flyer. And there's even a QR code on the flyer that'll take you to Eventbrite where you can buy your tickets.
The links on the event too. You don't even need the QR code.
Yeah, so it's a great place.
D&M Paranormal on Facebook.
That's correct. So if they go to our website, I did post a comment on your personal page underneath where your live is with our website.
Okay. It didn't pop up here.
What are you?
Like I said, you pretty well have to kind of go into the show and just post in the comments, and I can pop it on screen.
Yeah. So that's in
Plus,
February.
February. Okay, got something in March, or you gonna take
Oh
a little
yeah,
time off?
March. We're going back to the McIntyre Villa. That's in Atchison, Kansas. We talked about that one early on.
Can you repeat the name of that place?
McIntyre Villa.
McIntyre Villa. Okay.
Yeah, it's about, I want to say, maybe a half mile away from the Sally House.
Okay.
That's a cool place. We're going there for 2 nights. We have, our adventurers have found that when we do 2 nights in one location instead of 2 locations for one night, we tend to have better results the second night. And I think a lot of times, especially when you're going somewhere you've only been once or you've never been, there's a feeling out process between you, the building, and the spirits. So a lot of times we'll get a lot of activity on night 2 where we didn't have any or hardly anything on night 1. So that'll be in March. April, we're doing, it's an old schoolhouse in Otterville, Illinois, which is about 30 minutes northeast of Alton. It's the Hamilton Primary School. It was built by a former slave owner who not only freed his slaves, but actually educated one of his slaves, which enabled him to buy some farmland, and they're actually buried together. It was the first integrated school in the country. So that's April. Then in May, we're going to the Randolph County Asylum in Winchester, Indiana. That's a pretty popular location. It used to be a poor farm, turned into a mental institution. So those places are always pretty haunted. We're doing 2 nights there. Then in June, we're doing a place in Ashmore, Illinois, which is about 2 hours northeast of St. Louis. That was a poor farm, turned into a mental institution.
You're talking about the Ashmore Estates?
Yes, sir. So we're going to do 2 nights
been
there.
Been there, done that. I've been meaning to get back there, just never have.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Robin Terry, the guy that owns that place, is a top-notch, not only a business owner, but he is a great human being. He does a lot of charity work and a lot for the community, and I don't really think he makes a whole lot of money off Ashmore because he puts back everything he gets into restoring the building. He's put in new windows. He's replaced the roof twice. He's got the whole place decked out with Wi-Fi. He's built little shacks. They're almost like little a 1-room, 2-bed cabins. There's 3 of them outside for people to sleep in. Each one has its own Wi-Fi router in there. I mean, he's really done a lot out there. So we're doing that for 2 nights in June. July, we talked about we're going to Windyville. Do we have anything in August? I think August is a break month. You know, with a lot of us have kids that'll be going back to school. Some of them are college-age kids.
Yeah, right now there's nothing in August.
September, over Labor Day weekend, we're going to Edinburgh Manor, which we go there every year for 1 weekend. That's up in Scotch Grove, Iowa. That was the first real legit commercial place that we ever went to. We always have good activity there. Well, that's September.
Yeah, we got Mineral Springs in September too.
Oh, we're doing another Mineral Springs in September. So we're doing 2 in September, nothing in August. And then October, we're going to the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, which is about 8 miles from Hales Bar Dam.
Right.
And that'll be a first time for us there. Never been there. And then November, we haven't booked a location for November yet, but I've got a spot in mind.
Imagine that.
And then December, we always do the weekend before Christmas, we always do Mineral Springs Hotel. So
Okay, so you got what? At least two, or was it three trips planned next year for Alta Mineral Springs?
Well, it
Three,
actually
yeah.
will be 4 now that we're doing the one. This one we did for Sunday. It just kind of came up last minute. A friend of mine, actually, who joined our team because he reached out to us a couple of years ago and said his brother was a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker that was doing a documentary on the paranormal, and he was going to be in town and wanted to know if we knew where he could go. So I gave him a list of places. I said we didn't personally have anything planned, and I didn't really have time last minute notice to do anything. But anyway, so then he reached out and said, well, if that doesn't work out, are you guys looking for anybody? And we were really lucky to find him. He actually builds equipment. He's working on some experimental things right now. It's hopefully the stuff he's talking about. If he gets it to work, it's going to be amazing.
Okay.
But his brother is coming to town. I forgot where I was going with that. So his brother is coming in town, and so we decided we'll go to Mineral Springs on Sunday because I'm off work on Monday, so I don't have to get up early. But it's going to be cold. We're supposed to have, lows in the single digits Sunday morning. So, but it is what it is. I'll bundle up. But yeah, so we go to Mineral Springs at least 3 times a year.
Okay.
It usually
Let
ends up,
me-
yeah.
Let me ask you this question about a location I have not heard you mention. And a lot of people don't know about this location. There is another original Mineral Springs,
Mhm.
Yes.
completely different state. It's in Okraville, Illinois.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I know right where that's at.
Hey, have you ever been there?
I have not been there, and I don't have any experience there. But from what I've heard, it's kind of run down. They haven't. That's what I've heard, that they haven't really taken care of the place.
It's a bed and breakfast.
Well,
So
last I heard, it's still a functioning hotel.
yes, it is. Yeah, it's still open, but we've never personally been there. It's
Okay.
actually not too far from us.
Okay. Go in there. They do the mineral baths. They've got a bath area, got a massage area. There is 2 ladies who they wondered who the white lady was. It was one of the 2 ladies. Both were married into the family of the owners. They were not in the family, they were just in the family by marriage.
Yeah.
One of them died in the hotel, and they said the mineral water helped cure her arthritis.
Oh,
The
wow.
other one, she was married again to one of the members of the ownership family, and she decided she wanted to change the scenery. They never saw her again. She just up and left.
Oh, wow. That's kind
And
of weird.
yes, there's 2 female spirits there. There's also some mob spirits there, and they kind of when the mob wants to take over and run, the ladies are gone. They just
Yeah, I can imagine.
So if you get a chance, go in there and check it out. You can stay there for a night or 2, and if they let you go around in the middle of the night, if you're not keeping other guests awake, go into some of the places and do some investigating. They'll just see what they'll let you do, because it's been a few years since I've been there. I don't know if they're really allowing full scale investigations in there or not. Surely, if you went in there in the middle of the week during off season, one, you get a room at a cheap rate.
Yeah.
Especially if you say, I got a team of 5 people. We need 3 rooms for 3 nights in the middle of the week. They're not going to say no to you.
That's
Right.
true.
So you might want to look that up in Okraville.
Okay. Yeah, I actually drive right by that sometimes. I got a job site I have to go to over in Illinois for work. I drive right by there.
We'll swing on.
Like I say, it is interesting. It's would not be interesting to a lot of TV shows. The mob people are kind of camera shy, and the lady ghost there it's not demonic, it's not
Yeah.
horrific. Now one thing that is bad, there was a person that came in one of the nicest room in the hotel with the big bedroom. uh, I believe he hung himself in the middle of the room. And my wife, we were going on just a talking tour of the place. She refused to even go in there. She could feel her energy in the room, and she wanted no part of it. She wouldn't even go in there.
Yeah.
And there is a closet where the guy whose wife just walked out. He turned the inside. They used to wonder where he was going, and they found out. They had to look for him one day because he disappeared. He had turned a small closet in the hotel into a shrine for his wife who had just up and left him. And he went in there one evening, one afternoon, forget the time of day, and he committed suicide in his wife's shrine.
Yeah, that's really sad.
And so there's two men there. When I was there, I did not get in contact with either one of the male spirits, but I did catch the reason I know there's two women there is because one of them appeared in the background of a video I was shooting as a full-bodied apparition in a period dress. So I managed to get that on video. She was down a hallway about 25 feet from where I was standing. One of the spirits was standing in front of me, trying to interact with me. She was actually making sure wondering if I saw her. She'd step forward, get in my face, and step backward, just to see if my eyes would change focus if I could see her.
Yeah.
And I was there. But then when I got home and started editing video, I was playing a video. My wife looked over my shoulder and said, "Where's the ghost you were talking to?" I said, "Right in front of me." And she said, "Well, who's that in the background?" And here's a woman in one of those bell hoop dresses. I started the video over, and she comes up. There's an L-shaped hallway. She walks out of the L into the corner of the L, and is looking at me and the ghost interacting in the room. And then you see her walk out of camera range back down the hallway.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then she comes back. You could kind of tell by the look on her face she was kind of anxious. And then when she walked off, the other ghost walked off behind her.
Oh wow!
And I got that on video with her walking in and out twice.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like a one in a million catch.
Yeah, and I got it soon after I was even started really, equipment wise. I've been in the paranormal for years and years, but that not most of it not with equipment because back in the late '80s, what kind of equipment did you have?
Right.
It's just you got personal experiences. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
And this is one of the first times I was just documenting everything. I had 2 camcorders, full spectrum camcorders, and there she was. I happened to have a camera. The batteries were charged. I was filming, and she was in the background. I was not intentionally shooting down the hallway. That's just where the camera was pointed, and there she was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, one other thing, you notice the lighting behind me, right?
Yes.
It looks kind of pinkish, doesn't it?
You got full spectrum light on you?
Believe it or not, these light bulbs, I paid $1 each for $1. And they're supposed to be UV lights. But they are not UV lights. They put out a very faint, you can stare right at them because there's not a whole light coming out of them, red light. And for some reason, this camcorder that I'm using seems to be leaning to the infrared end of the spectrum. because to the naked eye, my background back here behind my head is nowhere near as lit up as it shows on the camera.
Huh.
It's right here to the naked eye is almost dark, right where my finger is. That's the dark spot there. But
Oh,
this
well.
whole area here is, follow my finger up, is it's kind of dark when I turn my head and look at it. So the camera's picking up a little bit into the IR spectrum. I don't know if it's supposed to do that or not, but it's a lot brighter on camera than it is looking at it.
It looks like you're in a well lit room.
Yeah, and I'm actually in quite a dark room. In a few minutes, we'll be going over a few questions. I'll have to turn on a light to see the paper, and I know what the questions are. I've got them written down. I pretty well got them memorized in my little beanie head. But to see them, make sure I get it right, I have to turn on light. But like I say, on camera, it looks like I'm in a bright room.
Yeah.
All I have is three, I call it just kind of red bulbs. And I've got a couple of small IR bulbs in the overhead. And that's it.
That's interesting.
That is all. And that's another way I go. So what kind of lighting do you use when you're filming?
I got just regular IR lights, but they're like $250 a piece. Like,
ooh, yeah,
I can go outside. I can go outside and it'll light up my neighbor's house 5 houses down the street. Yeah.
Oh wow, you've got the really good lighting. I wish I had some of that stuff.
So they like at a place like Waverly, that's a great place to use those.
Are they electric or are they battery or both?
No, they're battery. They use the 18650 batteries. They're about that big. They take about 8 hours to charge from full drain to full charge. So I have plenty of extras because they don't, especially in the full spectrum light I got. It's a 30-watt full spectrum. It's got the UV and the IR. That one will last me about 2 hours on 4 batteries. So I use that. We got a full spectrum GoPro, and then I've got a Sony handheld that's a night vision IR camera that I use.
Okay. Because a lot of people that I've talked to like to use white light. They'll just turn on the lights and try to see something. And it's been my experience, if you just turn on all the lights, kind of like you've got in your background, where you just got your normal lights on.
Yeah.
If you have something that gives off light itself, you can't see it in the bright room.
No, you can't.
But if you do like TV, where you've got no lights on at all, a shadow figure you're not going to see.
Right.
A shadow figure will walk up to you and almost slap you in the face, and you'll never know it's there.
That's true.
Because you can't see anything, and unless it reflects IR light, you can't see it. The camera's not going to see it.
Yep. Catch-22.
Yeah, it is a catch-22, but we always prefer to go dark.
Yes. I'm usually the reason I kept these lights and found it interesting. I got 3 bulbs for $1 each. They kind of cast the kind of light that I usually investigate in. I call it kind of twilight. It's actually called, the proper name is cross spectrum.
Okay.
Which is basically mixing IR, UV, and the cross spectrum light that I have lights. You have a red light that is close to IR but visible. It's definitely in the red, in the visible spectrum for the human eye, but it's really going toward IR. Then I have a violet light, which is leaning heavily toward UV, but not quite. It's kind of a little bit more towards the visible side than the old black lights. I don't know how old you are, that we all used to have as kids in our room.
Yes, I had a whole room
to light up all our Yeah. To light up all our peace posters and protest the Vietnam War back in the
Well,
60s.
I'm not quite that old. I had like Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and Dio posters.
Ah, okay.
I was born in '72, so I was right at the tail end of all that. So
Okay.
I'm pretty much grew up in the '80s.
Yes. I was born in 56. I'm not shy about my age. I'm 65.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lived through all that 60s and early 70s turmoil. Was in high school. Graduated 74 from high school. Okay. To finish up, we got about 5-6 minutes here.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to talk about experiences? We kind of figured out where you're going. If you have the floor, whatever you want to talk about.
What?
I don't know. I know one thing is we spend a lot of time up in that room that we have all the activity at Mineral Springs trying to debunk and figure it out, and we just can't do it.
Okay. Well,
there's no.
You
So
should tell them what happened when you were asking questions and with me writing stuff. You were asking questions about in your head, and then I was writing stuff, getting responses, and I didn't know that Mineral Springs.
yeah. Oh, that's crazy. So we were at Mineral Springs last New Year's Eve, and we were communicating with the gentleman who had committed suicide down in the bar, which is now a t-shirt shop, but it used to be the hotel bar. And I started asking him things like, can you go in the afterlife, if I tell you the name of a person in my head, could you go find them even though you don't know them? And my REM pod lit up. So I said, okay, I'm going to visualize a person and tell you their name, and I want you to go and find them. And so my wife started sketching some things. Okay, and it was really bizarre. So I don't even really know the whole sequence, but she drew out a sign on that and said the sign was wood burned, and it said M's Originals. Well, my mom 30 years ago started a alterations business in our basement. It may have even been more than 30 years ago. And she finally opened an actual shop outside the home and had a sign, and I don't even remember that sign. So this is what she drew. Okay, now this is not me telling you my mom outside. I didn't say that name out loud. She said, this is a little spindle of thread. I wish I had the picture, but we sent this to my sister. We took a picture of this after the session and sent this to my sister, and she said, "Oh my God, where did you come up with that?" And I told her, and she actually still has the sign, and she went and got it, and it's almost an identical match to that. But what was even weird?
Wow.
So what was even weirder? She goes, "Okay, we're gonna play charades now." Well, so he started showing her pictures, and she said, he's showing me the ocean. And then, and I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. He said, well, and she said, a station wagon and something about a dog. And I said, okay, give me the dog's name. Okay, describe the dog, because I knew that she didn't know my mom's dog growing up, but I knew what the dog's name was, and I knew what the dog looked like. And she said, he keeps showing me the ocean. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then she said, well, maybe it's a sea. Maybe it's not the ocean.
Because then they showed me a seesaw.
And then she goes, and now I'm seeing a seesaw. And I was like, oh my God, that's not my mom's dog growing up. That was my dog growing up. And her name was Cece. And she was brown and black, just like Jen had described. I'm like,
That's
is so
interesting.
bizarre. So what we can't figure out is, did he really go in somewhere into the afterlife and speak to my mom, and my mom relayed these messages through him to her? Or was my mom there the whole time?
But I didn't pick up on your mom. And you know what I mean? Like, I think if your mom had been there, I would have picked up on her energy, and the conversation would have been completely different than what it was.
Right.
That to me was, that's just, I don't know how she does
and
it.
Equipment was going off too when you would ask questions. Like, in between me telling you things, you would ask questions.
I mean, and part of that thing is on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. There's actually a 2-part, because it was so long, I had to break it up into 2 smaller videos.
Wow.
But at one point, the Lemp Brewery was literally almost next door to Anheuser-Busch, and the Lemps were some of the biggest brewers in the world at the time. And that would have been at the time where this gentleman would have been there. And I said, did you ever drink any beer from the Lemp Brewery? And the thing lit up. And then she goes, I'm seeing a shield. What kind of beer is associated with the shield? And I said, it's Falstaff. And Falstaff was the main beer made by the Lemps.
Right.
I'm like, that's crazy. So how is she getting these images and things in her head? It still amazes me, and I live with her. But
okay.
Yeah, there's the notes right there. So I always make sure when I go on investigations that I have a notebook and a pen or a marker or something, because I'm writing and I'm sketching what I'm seeing and what I'm being told. And I don't always tell them right away. It just depends on what's going on. But it's, I write it.
Right.
I write it down, and then when you can go back and validate stuff, it's crazy, because there was other stuff that came to me that night, and when we went downstairs, we actually found some information that we didn't even know was there, and we were able to validate information about Mr. Harwood, and then I was able to look it up online and validate it that way. So yeah, definitely, I'm always making sure I've got something where I can write this stuff down, because it's mind-blowing when it happens, but then to be able to go back and look at it, especially when we're doing the evidence review, it's like, how?
Oh, and one more thing.
Okay.
When she got spirit jumped the first time at the Mineral Springs Hotel,
okay,
Alfred, when we said the name Alfred, and then everything just freaking hit the fan, we actually were able to identify one of the soldiers that died in that prison 3 blocks north of the hotel was named Alfred Albert Cash, and he was a Confederate soldier. I believe he was from Arkansas, and he died of smallpox on the Smallpox Island. And when they started digging the lock and dam in the original spot, they found a mass grave and were able to identify 250 of the people that were in there and put them on a memorial on the Missouri side of the river. And he was one of those people.
Wow.
Yeah, I found all of his military records and everything.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're just about time to start finishing up. Dane, you've said several times you don't understand how she does these things. It's been my experience with people that a good empath or whatever, a psychic, a feeler, whatever they want to call themselves, sometimes things come to them like you and I breathe. We don't. Right. You and I don't think about breathing unless we got a stopped up nose and we can't. That's the only time we think about it. And a lot of people like her, it's just second nature. It's just they're just breathing in a room. Except instead of using their nose, they're using their mind. And it's hard to explain how it works. It just does.
Yep,
That's
is
true.
a great way to explain it. I love that.
You can use it if you want to. I don't. I'm not patenting that or anything. All right, let's go a little bit lighthearted here. Let me turn the light so I can see my hand in front of my face. There we go. Now turn on the yellow light. You can see my face now is more lit.
Yeah.
From one side, and that's having just a 25-watt yellow light on. This camera is really different. Of course, I kind of like the effect, actually. I'm not complaining about it. Okay. All right. This will be addressed to both of you. You can either give me an answer at one at a time, or both of you, whatever, however y'all want to do it. There are no wrong answers.
All right.
What is your favorite sandwich?
Roast beef and Swiss.
Ooh, very good. How about yours, Jennifer?
I like a good grilled cheese.
Nothing wrong with grilled cheese, especially on a cold day.
That's true.
You like to dip yours in tomato soup?
Yes.
Okay.
I like mayonnaise and mustard and pickle and onion on it too.
That's gross.
See, he made a wrong answer.
Okay. Talking about sandwiches, is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
It's meat, it's in bread.
It's not a
It's not a
sandwich.
sandwich.
Okay. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
No.
Okay, now here's one. Doing a lot of drilling like I do. One thing I didn't tell you about me, that I was born and raised in the state of Georgia. I've lived in Florida for a while. I've lived in Alabama for a while. Lived in Chicago 14 and a half years. And now I've lived in Arkansas for 6 years. But I'm a Georgia boy. So this next question is close to me. Barbecue sandwich. Pork, beef, or chicken?
Pork.
Pork. And pizza, from a little bit of Chicago heritage here. Flat or deep dish?
Deep dish.
But
Have you ever had a Giordano's pizza out of Chicago? Oh boy.
I have. It freaks me out because the sauce is on top and everything's under it.
Yes.
Who cares? It's still pizza.
It's backwards. I can't handle it. It's like inside out.
Oh, by the way, I also didn't tell you, my wife, we've been married 20 years this past November. She's born and raised in Chicago. So I'm a Georgia boy who married a Chicago gal, and now we're living in Arkansas. So okay, what is the scariest animal?
A honey badger.
What?
A lot of people will give that answer.
Have you ever seen a honey badger fight a cobra?
I've seen videos of honey badgers fighting several different things.
Yes. That and maybe a hippopotamus.
Okay. Yes. Hippopotamus will eat you.
What's that?
He said a hippopotamus will eat you.
It will.
Okay. Okay. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Apples.
Now, here's a deep question. You can discuss it. We still got several minutes here. Plus the owner of the network, he's not going to find me if we go to 9:01 Central Time. But real quick, what do you think happens when we die?
Personally, I think that we go somewhere and we are judged either by a person or a panel of angels, whatever you want to call them. And we were shown where we went wrong in our life. And if we didn't make the grade to move to the highest plane, I think we're given an opportunity to come back, and we're shown what we're supposed to do and how our life's supposed to turn out. And then your soul is recycled and you get to try again. Or if you choose not to do that, then you're kind of stuck on Earth.
Okay.
I don't know that I would call it stuck.
Well, not stuck, but you're free to roam around, but you're basically left in this existence, so to speak. You just don't have a body. But I believe our consciousness is our energy, you know. So
I believe the consciousness or the spark of life is all up here. And it's the soul. The soul is not so much in the heart. The heart's just a muscle. It's up here where the magic is.
Yeah. What do you think?
Okay. Well,
she's not going to answer.
all right. Okay. Favorite action movie?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What? Die Hard.
Say it louder.
I said Die Hard.
Excuse me. Gracious. How about favorite horror movie?
Ugh. The Saw series.
Yeah, the whole Saw series, I think.
Oh, gosh.
It's hard to watch, but
it's
Yes,
hard
it is.
to watch.
Those movies are hard to watch.
It's hard to watch because it's almost realistic enough that you could actually see somebody doing something like that. You know, where like Freddy Krueger, it's like, okay, yeah, it was scary, but come on, Freddy and Jason, you know, struck by lightning and drowns and gets hit by a boulder and keeps coming back to life. It's not real. Now there was a story, a movie called Faces of Death. I think it was made back in the 80s, and it was all video footage of different ways of death, people dying. They showed the aftermath of a train wreck. They showed somebody being electrocuted in the electric chair, and these were all real things. So it wasn't, I guess it was technically a horror movie, but it was like all real stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick, I would say any of the Saw movies.
Okay. Exercise, worth it?
Yeah, it's worth it.
Water, flat or sparkling?
Flat.
Favorite phone app?
World Series of Poker.
I did say there were no wrong answers, so we can flow with that.
What's yours?
Mine, probably Candy Crush or Canva, which is a graphic app.
Okay. Now, this is a question from Arkansas because most people don't know Arkansas is the #1 producer of rice in the United States.
Really?
I'm in walking distance of a lot of rice farms, and I'm talking about thousands of acres of rice farms.
That's
literally
crazy.
to walking distance. Most of the corn we grow here are for feed corn for deer or cattle or something like that. We don't grow much, human consumption corn here. We bring that in from the upper Midwest, but we grow a lot of rice here, down here in northern Louisiana. But do you like rice? And what's your favorite way to eat it?
I do, and I like it with butter and sugar.
I love rice, and I eat it with a spoon. I like chicken fried rice.
What do you have on it?
Rice. Well, I like
Fried
pretty
rice,
much
okay.
anything. Put the eggs in there. Put some peas and carrots. I like the little bean sprouts.
Okay. I like chicken and rice.
Yep, that's good too.
Okay, now we're going to ask the last question, and it is the most important question. And I'd like both of you to answer this. We're talking underwear, boxers or briefs?
Boxers. Well, actually, I have boxer briefs.
I was say you're a combo.
But if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick boxers.
Okay. Well, once again, go ahead for the last time and tell everybody where they can reach you.
D&M Paranormal.com.
All right. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to y'all. It's been fun.
There it is,
and
right
there.
there.
There it is. D&MParanormal.com.
Yes, sir.
Look them up on Facebook, YouTube, and their own website.
Yeah, if you go to our website, it has a link to all our social accounts. So you can get to the YouTube, Facebook, or the Twitter all right there.
There you go. That's what we need. All right. I've had a great time here talking to y'all. I think we've put out a lot of great information for you. And I'm really happy that you decided to come on December 30th, even though it's kind of the holidays. So I thought we just want to thank you both. And looks like we've frozen, and that's a key for me to go. This is WLFEDB live talk show, and now being a podcast is being recorded, and we shall move on. And it is time. In fact, we're 2 minutes over. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Next week, I'm not sure who I'm going to have as a guest. I've not really lined up a whole lot of January yet. But if we don't have a guest, I will be doing an Echo Vox Ghost Box sessions like I did last week. Hopefully, we'll have a guest. I've got several people on deck, so I'm not sure what order everybody's going to be in, because of the holidays, everybody's kind of crazy, and everybody's wondering about what kind of date. So I'm not pressing anybody on a date, but we will be back next week, 8 o'clock Thursday night Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, and 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Until then, y'all have a good week and be nice to each other.
Thanks for watching our show. Be sure to tune in to next week as once again we journey way down south into Bayou Country for another heaping portion of Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman and Bones. Make sure to like, share, and follow. Y'all come back now. You hear?